Dallas judge Tammy Kemp is defending her decision to hug police officer Amber Guyger after she was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the murder of Botham Jean.
This was the moment Kemp offered Guyger the hug after Jean's brother had done the same thing. Now, Kemp says Guyger twice asked for a hug and that she could not refuse. She spoke with our Dallas Fort Worth station, KTVT, and she said her faith guided her actions.
She will forever be the murderer of Botham Jean. How she carries that thus forward depends on how we receive her. And as a Christian, I believe I'm commanded to offer her love and compassion.
So here with more is public safety and police department reporter for the Dallas Morning News, Cassandra Jaramillo. Thank you so much for joining us, Cassandra. So how has the city of Dallas responded to the judge hugging Guyger? We know sort of the conversation that erupted nationwide, but in Dallas, I'm wondering how they took it.
We saw Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall take that moment of mercy from Botham Jean's little brother, Brant, as an example of how the city should also deal with this trial and some of the tension that's come out of it. Now with Judge Kemp, it's extremely unusual, and I would say never happens that a judge hugs a convicted felon, but Chief Hall also expressed some admiration for those actions, again reiterating the sentiments of forgiveness and mercy in what was a very emotional and tense trial.
One of the criticisms of the judge's actions has been from groups that are opposed to seeing any kind of mixing between the church and the state. They believe that there should be a separation of church and state, and the fact that the judge, and this has nothing to do with the compassion argument or the one where you see someone as a human being and you want to reach out to them. What some groups are saying is, look, just legally, the way our country, based on the Constitution, is set up, you should not have any displays of religion. And in this particular case, they are saying, these groups are saying, that judge sort of broke that standard.
That's correct. We did see a group submit a complaint against Judge Kemp about this, the action of bringing a Bible into court and giving it to Guyger. We will continue to follow the results of that complaint and where it goes, but at least locally, we did see the city officials very limited critiques of the judge's actions, and more so just an example of forgiveness and mercy.
Can I ask you also, Cassandra, the sort of what we led with, which is how people in Dallas are feeling, because as you know, this controversy, I guess if you want to call it that, had people really divided on social media, and you saw in a lot of think pieces. On one hand, for example, I'm going to read a tweet from Bree Newsom. She's a filmmaker and activist. She has been tweeting a lot about this. You recall she was the one who removed that Confederate flag from that statue. Was how she became known across the country. She wrote this: "The white gaze fixation with black people forgiving racial violence, from court cases to many Hollywood movie plots, is about the redemption of white supremacy in popular culture and imagination. It does not translate to empathy for how racism kills black people." On the flip side of that, you had people like the actor Chris Evans, when he saw that moment when Botham Jean's brother hugged Amber Guyger, he said it was one of the most beautiful things he'd ever seen. So I'm just curious, you've seen this national debate around this issue. What are people in Dallas specifically saying?
So we saw on Friday, if I'm not mistaken, a press conference with some of the faith-based leaders here in Dallas and some community activists, along with the Jean family, come out and talk about this. And still, some reporters were wanting to get Brant's reaction to the attention that this hug got, right? And the message there out of that group of folks was, listen, we can recognize forgiveness, but it doesn't separate this mission for justice. And that was the press conference where we saw them, make these calls for an audit of the Dallas Police Department as the trial revealed, some incidents that brought a lot of scrutiny. And so we saw those community leaders and the Jean family say, let's keep the energy going on some of the changes and the reforms that we want to see the police department, and not stay so fixated on this hug. We're past that at this point. We want to see some action.
And that's something that I wanted to ask you about after we learned that Joshua Brown, a key witness in this case, was gunned down. And there have been other stories floating around about other witnesses who lost their jobs because they had come forward with video. I'm just wondering what the relationship is now between the community and the Dallas police force. Is there suspicion? Because I know that, when I saw that headline about a key witness being gunned down, you start to question whether there's more to this or not.
Certainly the timing of the shooting raised a lot of questions and speculations, and also some of the misinformation about how Mr. Brown was shot. Initially there were some rumors that he was shot in the mouth. And so, people had some strong reaction to that because what it insinuates. But we now know through reporting at the Dallas Morning News that Mr. Brown was not shot in the mouth. That is patently false. According to a medical examiner report, he was shot in the back and the thigh, is what we've heard, the two gunshot wounds that he's had. But certainly, the timing of his death is either it's a tragic coincidence or just, raising a lot of concerns within the community. And I think it just points to the continuance of the Dallas Police Department trying to build its trust with communities of color here.
It's just, I think that if anything, this has certainly brought some of the issues that have faced this country for many, many years to sharp focus. And so thank you, Cassandra, for shedding light on it. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.